Thank you for clicking on this video. If you have no idea what this is, it's a little series of mine that I'm doing. Just sharing it around. And if you want to start from the beginning, there's a little button in the corner that can take you to the first video. But other than that, I hope you enjoy. Omega, Episode 9, The Hidden City. Recap. Last time, Abraham and company are still on the trail of the Wolf Squad. Their search has brought them to the planet Gaiax, Onyx's home, and during their time, they helped Onyx's family deal with bandits who attacked their village. But why did they attack this village? For a key that leads to an uncertain future where Abraham will have to prove himself. A new day rose upon the sandy dunes. Wild titan beetles grazed upon sturdy rock. The small village was only a few miles away. Meanwhile, a new day rose upon the sandy dunes. Wild beetles grazed upon sturdy rock. Meanwhile, out in the heat were three, one a teacher and the other the students. Both students were exhausted, laying on the floor. Their master, Gaussen, using his weave, lifted them onto stone seats. "Well, what did we learn today?" Gaussen asked, while using his weave to contort a dune into a sandy chalkboard. "No matter how we come at you, we just can't seem to touch you," Abraham responded, his shirt soaked in sweat. "You attack so fast and hard. Also, it's really hot out here," complained Onyx. "It's only been 2 years, son. Don't tell me you're no longer acclimated to our home," he laughed. "Remember what we used to do?" Gaussen pointed to Onyx's chest. "Really, father? That's something my brother and I did when we were younger. Can't expect me to do it now." Onyx looked at him with terror in his eyes. "Come on, the Sands needs its hero. And what did you call yourself?" "That's right, the Dune Defender." "I'm not doing it," Onyx protested, starting to walk inside. "Well, if you don't, I won't teach your friend here. And so what, if you have scars and wounds now?" Hesitantly, Onyx took off his shirt, his weave sickness visible for the entire world, looking almost like lava under his dark skin. He tied his shirt around his neck, letting it flow like a cape. "Ah, isn't that better, letting the wind feel your body?" Then Gaussen looked toward Abraham. "You're not safe either. Better make your shirt a cape, and find your superhero name." Abraham begrudgingly complied, using his damp shirt as a cape. "Now, the name," Gaussen requested. How about Weaving Wonder?" Abraham said, Onyx starting to laugh. "You're going to laugh at mine, Dune Defender?" Abraham smiled. Onyx grinded his face, suddenly launching a boulder at Abraham, just barely able to dodge it. He looked towards Onyx. "You could have hurt me." "I know. You would have been fine, though," Onyx responded. With a whistle, Gaussen stole their attention. "All right, you two heroes. Time for another lesson. Now, I'm going to reach that rock in a matter of seconds." He pointed to a large boulder at least 100 feet away. "I want you to look for what I'm doing to speed myself up." Gaussen buried his feet into the sandy ground. Like a puff of smoke, he was gone. The sand moved like a boat that had ripped through the ocean. The sound of an explosion echoed towards their ears. Looking to the rock, it was split into two. The force of the impact left Gaussen's fist now smoking with power. After rubbing his bruised fist, he walked back to his students. "So, did you guys see what I did?" Gaussen asked. Onyx was first to speak. "Oh, you used your strength to propel yourself forward." Gaussen scrunched his face. "In a way, but not exactly. Abraham, do you know?" Abraham closed his eyes, thinking back to the sand, how it was left under Gaussen's wake upon the rock. "Onyx had some of it correct, didn't he? But you're not putting all your strength into your own body. Instead into your surroundings, right?" "There it is. Pretty close answer. You see, being a stone singer isn't just about strength and defense. It's about being in tune with the very earth of the celestial bodies that we call home." Gaussen closed his eyes. You can feel every grain of sand move with the wind. Try it yourselves. First, close your eyes and then breathe in and out. Abraham closed his eyes, trying to feel something. Breathe in and out. Let the air that touches the earth into your lungs, Gaussen whispered. One deep breath after another. Finally, Abraham felt it. First, starting off the grains around him, but like a radar pulsating. He could feel Onyx's essence next to him, and his scarred weave. The firm yet old body of Gaussen's also. Over the dunes this sensation traveled. It burned Abraham's nerves, the same way using a weave without a catalyst. He could feel the rocks being chewed on by beetles. Opening his eyes, Abraham touched his weapon. The burning sensation traveled through his body, disappearing into the catalyst. Weave, unseeable to the naked eye, dispersed from it like smoke. May I try something? Abraham asked, breaking the meditative silence. Gaussen gave a nod. Abraham unsheathed his weapon, getting into a blocky stone-singer stance. Straight posture, square shoulders, a two-handed grip on his weapon, and the blade level with his forehead. If stone weaving isn't just using your own strength, but the world around you, then I'll smash that boulder to dust. Abraham's confidence launched him across the sandy dunes. Eyes closed, propelling himself using the sand around him, trying his best to focus, but his mind went foggy. The stand started to feel like static, the confidence of him now shaken, unable to control his speed. No longer was he in control. Instead, the earth had a grasp on him. Abraham tried bracing against the ground, but was face to face with a boulder, hitting him with inhuman speed, sending Abraham flying. He lied inside his own intention upon a dune that had broken his fall. Gaussen and Onyx ran up to him. Are you okay, Abraham? Onyx asked. Yeah, I just hurt myself a little, Abraham said while being dislodged. Man, I thought I had it, but everything went fuzzy. And then that happened. Abraham felt the bruises starting to form across his body. It took him a moment before he started to walk again. Nah, don't worry. Nobody gets it their first time. Just think about it like boxing or drawing. The more you practice, the better you're going to get at it. Gaussen smacked Abraham on the back. You should have seen when I tried something like that. I wound up in a male milk beetle's tunnel, where one was rutting. You would have sworn it saw me as a delicious rock. Just as they reached the house, Officer Bethany was reaching for the back door. She looked oddly at Onyx and Abraham. Why are you wearing your shirts like capes? Abraham and Onyx looked at each other, too embarrassed to speak. This is the Weaving Wonder and the Dune Defender, Gaussen announced. She looked at them as if they were insane. Uh-huh. By the way, your friend Oscar locked me out of the house after tricking me, saying that Sophia left her backpack in one of our APCs. Sophia doesn't have a backpack, Onyx informed. Yeah, you don't say. Well, at least the back door isn't locked. She tried pulling on the door. It was locked. They tried knocking, but no one came. After fixing their shirts, Abraham and Onyx looked through a window as Oscar and Sophia were talking to Dolo, whose shackles that should have been around his wrist were now twirling in the air by Oscar's fingers. Seeing them through the window, he waved, then went back to asking Dolo questions, ignoring all their pleas. I got this, Onyx said, his skin glue green. Stomping his foot, a snake of rock went under the house. Then, with a rumble, rock blasted through the wooden house below Oscar, causing him to fall backwards. Fine, I'll get the door, Oscar shouted, overacting a limp. He finally opened the door. Welcome. We just finished the interrogation of our friend Dolo, he smiled, looking at Bethany. You better tell me everything he said, or I'll arrest you for interfering in ESF business, Bethany threatened. Don't worry, Miss Bethany. Dolo and I will tell you guys everything. Oscar led them to the table. Sitting down around the table, Onyx made a stone chair from the hole he created. Gaussen shook his head, thinking of how he was going to fix that. Dolo looked around the room expectantly. Oscar gave him a nod of approval. All right. You guys are probably wondering why the leader of those bandits I was with wanted that key, right? He glanced at Oscar. They're looking for some hidden treasure, but this wasn't our idea. Instead, we were employed by a group of 4 weavers. Did you get their names? Bethany asked. No, he didn't, Oscar interjected. If it's who I'm thinking it is, of course they would hire a group of ruffians to get whatever they need, keeping a low profile at the same time. Wolf Squad, Abraham whispered to himself, thinking of Scarn, remembering the heavy fist that smashed into his body. You may continue, Dolo, Oscar said. Right. Well, there are 2 locations where we met them. The first is back in Rollstone, inside a building near the wall. Next was an outpost, inside the ruins of a tower, directly in the middle of the desert. I can give you coordinates to both locations. That would be appreciated, Bethany said, eyeing Oscar, who was still playing with Dolo's shackles. Other than that, that's all I know, though, Dolo said. All right, then. How about this, Omega Squad? Would you like to go investigate the tower with a group of my men? That sounds fine to me, Abraham confirmed. Perfect, Oscar said, glancing at Sophia and Dolo. Bethany noticed Oscar's suspicious disposition. Don't you dare try anything, Oscar. I'm not going to do anything. I'm a perfect model citizen. Sorry to interrupt, but you alluded earlier that I could possibly be released if I help. So, you wouldn't mind if I accompanied Omega Squad on their venture? Dolo asked Bethany. Sure, but if you try to escape, then you'll be dealt with accordingly. Oscar smiled, rising out of his chair. Well, that settles it then. Let's get going. Walking outside, a group of loitering soldiers stood, talking amongst themselves. Bethany asked Omega Squad, Well, we have 3 APCs. You'll be taking one, Red Squad will be following you, and another, while Blue Squad goes back to Rollstone with me. All right, sounds good, Abraham said. Good. And if you're wondering why I'm rushing, we don't know how long our little villains will stay. They must know that we have taken down their little gang, so I would hurry. Oscar gave a thumbs up. Just then, someone got Omega Squad's attention. Well, you're leaving fast. Gosson smiled, while Pumice held a box next to him. Don't worry, Father, we'll be back, Onyx said. Wait, why don't you come with us? Abraham asked. Oh, my, I would love to, but I've got to start rebuilding. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to help, at least a little. Gosson signaled to Pumice to open the box. Inside were 30 beetle milk cookies that were freshly baked. Oh, you didn't have to do this for us, but it wouldn't hurt to take them, Abraham said, while slowly being more and more infatuated. Sophia took the box quickly for herself, shoving one of the cookies into her mouth. Hey, those are for us too, Abraham cried. You better share, Oscar yelled. Well, we better get going then, she teased, opening the back of the APC. Abraham followed after her, with Oscar right behind him. Onyx gave his father a nod, leaving with Dolo by his side. After debating over who would drive while eating cookies, Oscar was selected as their designated driver. Gosson watched as the APC roared to life, riding into the desert, the second one trailing right behind it. Is it truly your wish for that boy to follow in your footsteps? We both know how it will end for him, and how it will change him. Gosson reminisced on events that were long past. Oscar's driving, though, on the other hand, was terrifying to say the least, with everyone holding on to their seats, including Onyx. Every time it jerked right or left, they were in fear of smashing their faces into the armored walls. Sorry for the bumpy ride. It's not too easy to drive on sand, Oscar shouted over the roaring engine. Are we almost there? Abraham yelled. Not yet, but it looks like our chance is about to come. What? Abraham looked out the window to see a large sandstorm heading their way. All right, Dolo, let's cover our tracks. Oscar signaled him. Opening the back of the door of the APC, the force of the wind almost ripped the doors off. Dolo, using his metal and weave, created a haze of sand between them and the other APC. Wait, Dolo, what are you doing? Asked Onyx. Oscar, what aren't you telling us? Yelled Abraham. Sophia spoke up. We are heading somewhere that the ESF cannot be allowed to know about. So just sit down, Abraham. We'll be okay. Shaking his head, Abraham sat down. Sometimes I don't even know if I should believe Oscar, Abraham thought to himself. Like, how do I know you're telling me the truth about Ishin? Dolo finally stopped. His breath was heavy, his energy spent. I think we're alone, he assured, closing the door with Onyx's help. They could hear the sand and rocks bouncing like bullets upon the vehicle's armor. Oscar almost flinched with each gust that hit the windshield. So, Dolo, where are we going? Asked Abraham. Sitting down, Dolo answered. A third location. You know that scroll? It's the key for the door. And what's behind it? Dolo shifted in his seat, trying to get comfortable. I'm not sure. But if these people we're dealing with are wanting it, it can't be good. It could be another artifact, like the one we found at the library, Sophia says while meditating. Wait, are you actually able to meditate here? Abraham asked. She opened her eyes. No, not really, thanks to someone's driving. Hey, look, we're almost there. You guys will survive, Oscar smiled. Yeah, surviving with head trauma, says Abraham. Look, young man, another complaint from you, and I'll turn us around. We're almost there. The GPS says we're only 6 minutes away. Even through the sandstorm, a monolithic shadow covered them. Sounds of battering rock and sand ended as walls of earth stood on each side, standing like tall trees. The path narrowed to where the APC couldn't continue. On foot, they went deeper and were met with an ancient door, not even a scratch or sign of erosion. Figures of a forgotten race were carved into it. One in the middle held what appeared to be an odd gem, missing a piece in the middle. Those are Phalorum, Sophia informed, running her hand upon the wall. Look at the flower-like plumage around their necks. Sometimes, little things like this makes me wonder what they fully looked like in person. It does, Abraham said, gazing at the figures. Wait a minute, we don't even need the scroll, Onyx laughed, raising his weapon to the wall. Using his weave, he ripped rock from the wall with all his strength. His eyes raised when he saw a circuit board of Phalorum metal. In just a few seconds, it regrew the rock around it like flesh, looking as pristine as before. What in the world? All except Dolo were taken back. Oh my, now isn't that something? Oscar commented. Yeah, it is. The group you're after showed me and the bandit leader this place, and in his infinite wisdom, well, he did the same thing, Dolo informed. Sophia pulled out the stone scroll, looking at the door. Then the scroll, throwing it to the ground. The sound of electricity crackled as she pulled out her rapier, blasting the scroll, pebbles and rocks blasting off. Sophia, why? Abraham yelled, covering his eyes from the blast. As the smoke cleared, the scroll had the same circuitry as the wall. Just like it, more rock formed around it. Onyx, set it in that hole there, in the wall, she asked. With a nod, Onyx placed the scroll inside. Immediately it started to bond with the stone. The door started to purr like a cat. The figures' petal-like manes grew vibrant hues of pink, reds, and blues. With a click, the door split open. Stale air hit their noses. A black, dark maw beckoned them inside. Entering, the door behind them closed. Concerned, Oscar ran back to the entrance. Getting closer, it opened back to the sandy outside. Well, at least we're not trapped, he sighed. Moving away, the door closed again. They stood in darkness. Oscar was about to light his weapon and fire, until the walls started to sparkle with luminescent pebbles. It looked like stars upon a night sky. They gave way to a hallway that led deeper down. About 10 minutes passed as Omega Squad continued walking down this hallway. Where does this lead? Abraham asked. That's a great question. Wait, do you feel that? Onyx questioned. Suddenly, the ground started to shake. The walls of a hallway sunk into the stony floor. Around them, a barren room. With force of a rocket, the new walls of the impenetrable Phalorum metal appeared. Onyx just barely grabbed Oscar before he was crushed. But now, Omega's squad was separated. Onyx, Dolo, and Oscar on one side, Abraham and Sophia on the other. "Hey, are you guys okay?" Abraham yelled through the wall. The only response was the sound of shifting walls, as once again they changed, creating new paths and hazards, one of which almost shattered Sophia if it was not for her splinting speed of lightning weave, her weapon drawn, getting to Abraham's personal space as all other space was gone. "Here, let's go this way." Abraham led, moving through the maze, death around every corner. Sophia looked at the ground, noticing their past footprints in the somewhat sandy ground. "We've already been here before," she informed. Let's go this way," Abraham said, focused on escaping. They only ended up back in the same spot. "This is getting us nowhere," Abraham growled. "We could try going a different path and make sure our footprints aren't visible from a failed attempt," she suggested. Abraham looked at the sandy ground, measuring it with his finger, and went all the way to his knuckle. "I have a plan." Using his metal, Abraham pierced the sand, closing his eyes, breathing in and out. The surroundings became vibrant. He could feel Sophia's weave zapping in different directions. Most importantly, though, the ground itself became a path through the storm. Grabbing Sophia's hand, he walked with assurance, eyes closed, not even flinching as a wall shoots up next to him. Sophia's heart had never beat this fast. Not since a certain incident, years in the past. Finally, though, they escaped the malicious maze with ease, and they both took a sigh of relief. "Ah, we were wondering when you would get out," Oscar said. We were wondering when you were going to get out," Oscar said. Dolo, him, and Onyx sat on a stone couch waiting for them. "Looks like I win," Onyx smiled, looking at Oscar. "You guys couldn't have stayed in there just a few more minutes? Fine, take your credit, you big oaf." Standing up, Oscar stretched. "Well, let's get going." Now reunited, they continued down another hall, wary of what could be in front of them. "How was it, using your stone weave?" Onyx asked Abraham, breaking the silence. "It felt oddly natural. Almost lost concentration a few times, but other than that, it was good," Abraham answered. "Oddly natural?" "Yeah, well, I've known water weaving for 16 years, so it comes almost second nature to me. But stone weaving? I have to bend and breathe in ways I never had to, but once I settle into it, I get into this rhythm, as if you're making a new road, but already know the location." Well, that's a way of explaining it, I guess." Abraham and Onyx continued talking, with Onyx talking about how he can't wait for him to get proficient, being able to create stone armor. At the same time, Oscar whispered to Sophia, "You were blushing earlier." She looked at him with a gaze that could kill a con. "I was not." "Sure you didn't. I must have gone blind." "I can make you blind." "Don't worry, seeker in training." "Your secret's safe with me." Oscar smiled. Finally, they reached another door. The top had even more gems glistening below a Phalorum city, etched into the stone. Most notable was a large tower, whose base was surrounded by Phalorum figures, with their hands out, praying toward the tower. Onyx stepped closer, and a gem unveiled itself at the top of the tower. It shined in order of blue, green, bright red, silver, purple, and finally a dark crimson. With a violent force, the door lifted. Walking onto a balcony, they overlooked a city of magnificently carved buildings. On the ceiling, huge rocks glowed like suns, bathing the landscape in an endless moonlight. And far in the distance stood a Parthenon. That took center stage, as if the city was built around it. "Oh my, that's truly something," Onyx said, surveying the rooftops. "Indeed it is. I wonder what was in here As her mother wouldn't hide a tablet for no reason, Oscar said. You're right, she wouldn't, Dolo spoke up. Let's see what she was protecting. Down on the streets, the mood switched. Instead of sleepy wonderment, now an eerie uneasiness, a city of ghosts. Omega Squad came across something particular. Among the perfectly pristine stonework was what almost appeared to be a spaceship made of stone. But it seemed time had not been kind to it. Onyx got a better look. Well, it's not Valorum. It's an old Stoneweaver spaceship that was used thousands of years ago from the looks of it. Yeah, the only one we have ever seen was in a museum. And it's in worse condition than this guy, Dolo informed. Does it still work? Abraham asked. It could still work, yeah. They don't really require fuel. Instead, you control it with Stoneweavers. The stronger you are, the easier you can pilot it. I doubt it's space-ready, though. Maybe when we're done looking around, we could fly it a little. Onyx raised his hand, waiting for a high five from Dolo. Oh yeah, definitely, Dolo responded, giving him a high five. Well, it might help me with learning stoneweaving, Abraham said. That's the spirit. What about you two? Onyx asked Sophia and Oscar. I'm fine with keeping my feet on the ground, thank you very much, Oscar said, looking at the surrounding architecture. Sophia shook her head, enraptured by the fact that she was standing in a Valorum city lost to time. They continued on, Abraham wondering who owns the ship. Then the most surprising thing was found. Human bones. Well, thank you for listening to this, and if you liked it, if you didn't like it, tell me down below. And here's a few bloopers of my recording. Gosson signaled Pumice to open the box. Inside were 30 beady milk. Don't worry, just... Trying to keep a low profile and off. Oh my goodness! Thinking of Skarn, remembering the heavy fish. The heavy fish. Well, we have 3 APCs. APCs.